Every morning at pukul 6.15, Emer po forward a routine he believed was the secret to his long life. He distressed, breathed in the crisp air through kitchen window, and reached for his favorite glass. Tao, clear, filled with cold water and dosages of lemon. A little bitter, a little fresh, just like he liked it. For years, he called it his heart hope. He read somewhere that lemon water helped clean out arteries and lower blood pressure. And he believed it. Why won't he? It was simple, natural, clean. But last Tuesday, after sipping his lemon water and heading out for his usual brisk walk, something felt off. It wasn't the pain, not yet, just a spinning sensation. Then a wave of head. By the time his neighbor Shalalawali was alarm him, he was collapsed into the driveway, pulse racing, blood pressure skyrocketing. How could something so small, so healthy, bring him to the edge of a straw? You see, many older adults proudly build daily fasts around healthy eating habits, morning rituals, and daily walks. But what if no one ever told you that, after 70, some of those healthy habits need to be gently adjusted? In this video, we do a quickly uncover one specific morning routine that can silently trigger dangerous blood pressure spikes, and what you can do instead to truly care for your heart. Let's begin with Emer Paul's story, because he is not alone, and his experience may just reflect your own. Emer Paul was a kind of man you did not to at the end of the block, the one who always swept his sidewalk clean, wafted first, and walked with purpose. 74 years old, widowed, 2 grandkids he adored. He wasn't trying to run marathons or climb mountains. He just wanted to stay strong enough to carry a grocery bag and read bedtime stories without losing his breath. Every morning looked the same. He did stretch by the window, sip his lemon water, and lace up his sneakers with quiet pride. His doctor only gifted him a book on heart smart living, and Paul had read a section on morning routines. Cold lemon water is cleansing. It best way to start your day. So, that's what he did for years. Until that morning, the neighbor found him face down on the concrete, conscious but confused. Paramedics jam fast. His blood pressure had spiked to 188/112. His heart was pounding like it was touching something it in the chat. At the hospital, doctors ran tests and asked questions. There was no fall, no injury, no stroke yet, but it was closer. A warning. The odd part? There was no heart disease, no clogged arteries, just a sudden storm of pressure inside a body that told it was doing the right thing. Paul was stunned. He kept asking the same question, but he was doing everything right, wasn't he? And that's the question that matters. Because Paul's story is rare. It's quiet, it's invisible, and it happens to people who care. People like you, who try every day to do better, to live well, to argue with grace. But sometimes, good intentions need a gentle correction. And that begins with understanding what really happens inside your body each morning. 1. Cold lemon water emitaha. At first, the doctors assumed it was dehydration or a random spike, something to write off. But when they asked Paul what his morning looked like, they paused. Cold lemon water on an empty stomach? Every day? The cardiologist leaned in and sighed softly. Emer Paul, that make it not be as helpful as you think. Paul blinked. But lemon water cleans the blood, right? Here is the part no one tells you. Especially not in those glossy, stay young forever articles. Cold liquids, especially first thing in the morning, can trigger a thickening in your blood vessels called vasoconstriction. It's your body's natural response to cold. The arteries contract, the pressure inside boils, and your heart has to pump harder just to keep the same flow. And when that water is acidic, like lemon, the stomach lining can react with irritation, especially in older adults with sensitive systems. The result? A perfect storm, high pressure, fast pulse, confused symptoms. You feel dizzy, hot, wet, but you don't know why. You think maybe it's maybe it's nothing. But for Paul, It was nearly everything. Because his heart didn't a soak of freshness. It needed time, warmth, gentleness. It needed to be woken like an old friend, not splashed with ice water. That's the hard truth. Some things you do because you love your body may actually stress it without your knowing. And for Paul, this was just the beginning of what his body had been quietly trying to say. Dua, just didn't stand up. After a cold drink, Paul would rise from bed quickly. He never thought twice about it. His feet swung over the edge, he stole a towel, and walked straight to the kitchen like he had 4 decades. But in the hospital, the nurse asked him something strange. Do you sit for a moment before standing in the morning? Paul laughed gently. I'm not 100 years old, he sighed. She did the smile. Then she explained it. At night, especially for older adults, blood set less. It pulls in the lower body as you sleep. When you stand up too fast, gravity pulls it down even harder, and your brain doesn't get the signal right away. Your blood pressure drops. Then your heart panics. It overcompensates. Pressure surges. This is called orthostatic hypotension. But Paul didn't net the dam. He just near image, a hostilely kid, then forged it open. His face changed. And the real shock? That surge doesn't always make you dizzy. Sometimes it goes unnoticed until the vessel walls work again. Until a tiny artery in the brain gives way. Until a mini stroke or worse happens. Without warning, while you were just pouring cereal. Paul had never felt so fragile. Not weak, but vulnerable. Like a balloon held too thick for too long. That morning routine, so ordinary, so automatic, had become a silent threat. Not because he was reckless, but because no one ever told him. Until now, tiga, Paul were walking without breathing. Once Paul was up and moving, he didn't waste time. His sneakers were already by the door, and the neighborhood walks were quiet at that hour. He walked fast, always had. Even at 74, he liked to time himself, 2 laps around the block, 10 minutes. He wasn't competing with Anyone. He just wanted to feel capable. He took speed man strength. That pushing harder man he was keeping at bay. But that morning, the one that sent him to the air, he walked a little too fast. The weather was warmer than usual, and he hadn't had much to eat. Still, Paul charged forward. He remembered failing his chest tightened a bit, like he had to concentrate just to excel. He didn't want to slow down. That would feel like giving up. Later, a cardiac specialist asked him, do you breathe heavily when you walk fast? Paul shrugged. Iguas just hold it sometimes. Doesn't everyone? The specialist explained something Paul had never heard before, the falsalfa maneuver. It's what your body does when you strain, holding your breath while pushing, bending, or walking fast. It creates internal pressure. For younger people, it's a blip, but in older adults, especially with less elastic blood vessels, that pressure builds fast. It forces the heart to work against a cool system, like revving an engine with the brakes on. For Paul, it may have been the final straw that morning. The habit was the bad, the intention was noble, but without enough oxygen, without patching, that fast walk became a silent danger. What no one had told him is this: your body changes with age, but your habits often don't. So while Paul's mind said, go strong, his heart was coolly pleading, go gently. And there is something heartbreaking in that, realizing you've been loyal to a routine that wasn't a loyal back. He wasn't trying to hurt himself. He was trying to stay a little near, to be there for his grandchildren, to be the strong one. But strength, he learned, doesn't always mean faster or harder. Sometimes it just means standing before your body has to scream. 4. High sodium, healthy foods. Back home from the hospital, Paul tried to put together what had gone wrong. He kept circling back to the same question. Was it the walk, the water, the... But there was one part of his routine he hadn't questioned at all. His breakfast. It was his comfort ritual. Every morning, After walking, he ate a bowl of soup from the night before. Vegetable-based, low-fat, packet wheat flour. He skipped toast and never the butter. If you asked him, he'd proudly say, "Eat it clean." But during his hospital stay, Adiet chame by with a clipboard and a kind smile. She asked Paul to distribute his typical breakfast. When he mentioned the soup, her eyebrows lifted gently. "Do you mind if we look at the sodium label together?" The numbers stunned him. Over 900 milligrams, just for the soup. And that was before he added a small handful of salted crackers. When simple breakfast puying him pa 1,2 milligrams of sodium before 8 a.m. Paul felt embarrassed. But tried. Even he did donate what he thought was right. The label said low-fat and heart-smart. But sodium doesn't taste like danger. It tastes like home. It sneaks in without warning. No red flags, no alarm bells. Until one day, the pressure builds, and your heart can take the load. She explained it. Sodium pulls water into your blood vessels, increasing the volume, and with it, the pressure. It's like blowing up a balloon and never letting out the air. Over time, the walls stretch. 10, 13, and 10, Mib, Tatar. No doctor, no magazine, no commercial had ever warned Paul about this. He felt tricked, not by Anya in particular, but by a system that made unhealthy things lost as long as they were wrapped in soft colors and words like light and wasame. Paul wasn't angry. He was tired of guessing, tired of the chodding labels, tired of trying so hard, only to feel like the odds were still against him. And in that quiet fatigue, he made a promise to himself, no more guessing. From now on, he would know what went into his body. And why? Lima, Terine spake. Even after the soap, even after the walk, there was one less part of Paul's morning that felt sacred, coffee. He didn't drink much. Just one mug, dark roast, no sugar, a little enough. He brewed it the same way every morning and thought the first space standing by the window, watching the world begin again. To him, it was a symbol of Peaje, something warm and grounding. But what he did there also was that, on top of the fascination from the common water, the blood pressure surge from standing too quickly, the internal pressure from holding his breath, and the sodium from his breakfast, that single mug of coffee was one more silent push. Caffeine, especially on an empty stomach, triggers a fast release of adrenaline. It sharpens focus, yes, but it also quickens the heart, thickens vessels, and gets the blood pressure just a bit higher. For someone like Paul, already getting there that morning, it was the final nuge. The cardiologist had explained it gently. Caffeine isn't evil, but timing matters. If your system is already under pressure, even one cup can tip the scale. Paul nodded slowly. He wasn't giving up coffee, but he didn't never look at it the same again. Because it wasn't the coffee, the soap, the pache, or lemon water on Tero one. It was the combination, the perfect storm of small things that nearly cost him everything. In the days after he was discharged, Paul Chunde stopped replying everything. The lemon water, the wall, the soap, the coffee. He sat at his kitchen table in the quiet hours of early morning, staring at the same mug he had held for years. He felt betrayed, not by the coffee, not even by the habits, but by how little he had understood about what his aging body actually needed. No one had ever told him that good habits sometimes outgrow the body they were meant to serve. And for the first time, Paul felt something heavier than fear. He felt guilt. What if he'd collapsed in front of his grandkids? What if it had happened while driving? What if he hadn't come back? He thought he was doing everything right. He tried so hard to be the one who didn't need help, the one who argued with strength and pride. But the truth was sobering. Even a strong man can break from the weight of small mistakes repeated with love. He did cry, but something inside him softened. His doctor had come by the evening before, brought over a new breakfast book, low sodium, plant-based. She did decide much. just placed her hand on his shoulder. And he realized that he wasn't alone in this. That's what broke it through in his head. Not medical charts or labels or numbers. But that gentle reminder that health isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. And that maybe, just maybe, it's not too late to start again. This time with more listening, more care, and fewer assumptions. Podite change everything overnig. That wasn't it the goal. He started small. He replaced his morning lemon water with warm water and a pinch of cinnamon. He added a few breath before getting out of bed. He patted himself during his walks. No longer